Probably.
Welcome to the San Antonio FC Fancast.
He didn't play his instrument.
What?
You didn't play an instrument in high school, did you?
No, why? No. I play drums.
Where is this going, man?
I know, ruining the entrance. What are we doing here? Give me some runway to finish this entrance. My name is Royce. I'm your host, alongside with Harry, your co-host. Harry, how are you?
I did not attend high school musical or anything along those lines. So just to clear it up for Matt, I am a non-musician.
Yeah, and I'm a drummer. I'm tone deaf. So what am I going to tell you? Matt, speaking of drummers and people that ruin intros, Matt, how are you?
Good. No, they say people with good lungs used to play an instrument in high school, like trombone, like the woods and all that.
And you're saying I don't have good lungs?
Well,
That's what he said.
That's exactly what he's saying. Sure, real nice, real great start there from the number one American outlaw in San Antonio.
Oh, shut up. Okay.
Oh yeah, I gotta get that picture. Oh, crap.
Yeah. So Harry's got to pull that picture up. But while we're on the subject, while we're on top of this, we're gonna start this one like we ended the last one. We're gonna talk about the USMNT match on the 20th of January here in town. Just eight short days ago. Feels like it was yesterday.
And Walter wishes it was yesterday.
Yeah, no, he wishes it was still tomorrow so he can not start some of the players and play some of the players he had planned. But ended in 1-0 Slovenian win. They got a goal around the 30th minute on a counterattack. And that was pretty much it. Not a lot to write about in the game. US had a lot of possession, but just a lot of recycled possession. Not the most exciting thing, but it was a USMNT. It was at Toyota Field. It was a dream come true, something I never thought I'd ever see. Saw it. It's very cool. Took the family. My kid got to see it, so it's great. So real quick, just to get it out of the way, Matt, what was the big standout thing to you? Whether it was a player, a couple players, something about the atmosphere, being with the American Outlaws. What stood out to you over that?
I think it was the atmosphere, man. It felt like like the playoffs or like the final for SAFC. It like stadium was packed, man. I did a walk around during halftime. No room whatsoever. You had to go to the restroom? Nah, you couldn't even do that because their lines were long.
Well,
this guy.
There it is. There he is. There's our boy.
This guy.
I will say
that's the day of the tailgate. So not only did he go to the tailgate, he go to the game, he drummed. This is the night before.
It was
what a dedicated US fan. Wow. I
did it for a friend. I did it for friends.
Yeah, for America. And yeah, exactly. Amazing. I will say, Matt, to your point about the restrooms, I did notice on the east side of the stands, they took up a lot of the lot 1 parking lot, and they had porta potties out there. They had other food trucks. They were ready for a big crowd, and San Antonio delivered. Absolutely. Harry, what was the thing that stood out to you, whether it was a player? What stood out to you about the game?
So there's two things. One, 91-91. San Antonio showed up. The other thing, Toyota Field is kind of showing its age a little bit, just because the bathroom on the north side was shut down, and it could have just been because it was so cold, plumbing issues, and possibly a pipe broke. But if it was your first time at Toyota Field, especially early on going in, it might not have gave the best impression, but to me, And I know Rafa's talked about this. We've kind of talked about this, that Toyota Field for being 10 years or 11 years at this point.
11 years this year. Yep.
So starting to show a little bit of age. Still a great facility, don't get me wrong. But that was the first time I really kind of noticed its age a little bit. And it could have just been, hey, this is the first time and for the year, and well, it was a big one the first time. But to me, the 91 American Outlaws, Raha 76 put on a great show through there here. You got to give it to Slovenia. They capitalized on the one opportunity. The U.S. men's national team didn't capitalize on their several opportunities, especially late in the second half. The crowd was buzzing. The crowd was waiting to go off, and unfortunately, we did not get that goal to really express how well San Antonio gets behind its clubs. But I think overall, if you're a U.S. men's national team for another January or small friendly, you got to figure San Antonio made a great impression. For that here, to where instead of going to an MLS stadium or an NFL stadium, if it's a small, hey, we're going to be using BC team, San Antonio has to be in the running, and hopefully other USL stadiums as well.
Absolutely. Everything you said, San Antonio showed out. It absolutely did. I even think Mexico really needs to take a long look at maybe even having a friendly here if they're going to have a little camp cupcake kind of thing.
Quequitos.
Sorry about that. Not sponsored. I had a little bit of this Celsius peach vibe. It's terrible. It's really bad. Don't drink it. It tastes terrible. I made that mistake right now. It's on my fridge. So at Costco, it comes in a big pack. It's that flavor, and it's two good flavors. There's like a berry one and a tropical one. Pretty good.
Is it the kind of package where it's like it's two good flavors and then there's the shitty flavor?
Correct. That's exactly it. Yeah, that's exactly it.
And you wait until the last so you drink the shitty flavor. Got you.
I just grabbed one. I'm not gonna lie. Grabbed it, opened it, drank it. I'm thirsty. I've been in my garage all day. More reorganizing than cleaning. I didn't clean crap. But we're going to get rid of a lot of stuff. Neither here nor there. We're going to get back to soccer here in a second. But that's terrible. Peach vibe. Celsius, bad. Really bad. Anyway, getting back to the U.S. game, 91-91, impressive crowd. There was not a seat available. All of the standing room only was completely filled. Just people shoulder to shoulder all the way around the stadium. Lines super long for concessions, but you did have food trucks outside. You had porta potties. I did get on good word, Harry, that it was a pipe burst from the recent freeze because it did freeze the week before. And so that was the issue with the bathroom on the north side. Hence why they were prepared to have the porta potties down there. Cough buttons are important. But I think overall San Antonio showed out, and it was a great time. I think we all enjoyed it. If the weather would have been a little warmer, it would have been a little bit better, but you can't control the weather. So it is what it is. And Harry, you want to talk about want to transition here from the U.S. men's national team, and we'll transition into some SAFC talk. And I'll give it away to you for some transaction news.
Yeah, so there's some big departures, and we'll kind of highlight the last few. But just in case you're not aware of all the departures, because it's that time of year where there is a lot for that here. So it starts out here. Let me flip the screen here. Wait, that's the arrivals.
Yeah, no. If you haven't heard, if you're listening, I'm sure you've heard, and I'm sure you have a big opinion on some of the departures. So let's start going through those. Get that graphic up, and we'll start this discussion.
So let me just go over a couple of brief ones here, and they're at the bottom here. Ignacio Bologna went to Club Nacional. David Larrera just recently signed with Lexington Soccer Club out of USL League One. Ja'Cory Hayes and Lamar Batista went to North Carolina FC, promoted. Well,
who's back in the
championship. Now in championship. Tulu went to Memphis 901 area code. As we all know, Justin Dillon was transferred to El Paso. Then we get into some of the big names, and if you're a San Antonio FC fan, these are gonna hurt. Not that hurt.
That doesn't hurt. That's fun, but yeah, PC announced his departure from the club. Our captain for the last 3-4 years.
Yeah.
And that one hurts. His leadership is going to be missed. Unfortunately, it did seem like he lost the step on the field, which really stinks. It just kind of seemed like he never had the speed or the, I don't want to say the speed or the stamina, but just the gameplay in general since the injury he got in the 2022 playoffs when he had his spleen ruptured and broke a couple ribs. It just kind of seemed like he never really got back to it. So, which really stinks. But at the same time, that's kind of what happens in this business. And it is a business number one. And hopefully PC lands on his feet somewhere. But man, we'll always have 2022. And I'll always have PC yelling at people at the top of his lungs, this blood-curdling, high-pitched scream because somebody wasn't in position. The one person I remember him yelling at the most, and this is going to be funny, I think he's still in the league, was Ebenezer Akon, whenever he was playing for us in a preseason match. He was the left back in a preseason match, and Ebby went up, and he forgot to come back on the back line, and PC yelled so loud at him. And it was the preseason, like season ticket holder only match that you go to. So there weren't a lot of people. It wasn't loud. It was quiet. And I was sitting in, I think, section 101, and PC yelled so loud. They were going towards the other team was going toward the south end, so Ebby needed to get back toward the south end, so it was right in front of me, and PC just yells, "Hey!" And that's something I'll always remember from PC. Is just, I was like, dang, it's intense for me to hear this from the stands, him yelling at somebody. I can only imagine being that guy he's yelling at right now. But that's leadership, and that's kind of what you need in that business, and something that I'll never forget.
And Ebby is with Lexington, so he'll be with
he was
Dioff,
yeah,
and
Loera
through there. He just recently signed. But to me, I would love to see PC move into a coaching role, whether it's San Antonio FC or another one. I know not San Antonio, but USL started USL Forward for minorities and men and women and minorities, color, and along those lines, coaching programs. I would love to see him kind of be able to move into coaching, whether it's academy or along those lines, if that is something that he would love to do.
I agree. I think he's perfect for it. I really do. And next on the list?
Next would be Fabian Garcia for that here.
Yeah, one of the club's best center backs, one of the best defenders in club history. And this one hurts to see him go. He was a stalwart last season. He's been a stalwart the last few seasons since he came over from Austin. 2022, his side was that right side, and nobody got by him. And he was the difference in that 2022 club being on the right side. And some of his defending, I'll always remember when Michi Galina pretty much had a breakaway, and Fabian got back, slide tackled him, and won the ball. and saved a goal and saved the game. And that's one that I'll always remember from Garcia. But one of the best dudes that I've had the pleasure and opportunity to interact with on the team. Really down to earth guy. I like Fabian a lot. He has an overinflated opinion of French food, but big surprise there.
You like short shorts?
I mean, what am I going to tell you? He really took over the reins from Gonzalo Dorenzo. So, you know, we got to see who's going to be short shorts this year, because it just kind of seems like a pattern. Every year we have a dude that's just rocking the short shorts. So we'll see how that goes. But man, Fabian's going to be missed. Absolutely.
So I am kind of surprised because, number one, it was a mutual agreement to part, and we're not able to find somebody to transfer him to. And I'll say this because far as next, I think these two are related. As far as from whispers that we've heard, through the grapevine, the Marsman being brought in. Marcina being a tough coach to play for, definitely not a player's coach, but a very demanding coach. It'll be interesting to kind of see. I've kind of asked around, and there's really no whispers of where he's going, even on a USL level. So it's still, TBA. So you got to kind of wonder if he's in MLS camp or possibly overseas. So I won't lie, this one kind of caught me off guard. That it was a mutual decision that they part ways as opposed to a transfer. Matt, your thoughts on Fabian leaving? And to me, it's a huge hole to fill on the defense.
I mean, to me, of course, by being on the drum all the time, you're looking at the goal in front of you. There are times I've saw him slip or lost touch every now and then. So I wasn't too surprised, but it is still a shocker that he left, thinking that maybe we could have rebuilt touch, we could have rebuilt his ways, but I mean, it's one of those where, yeah, I was shocked that he did end up leaving, but like Roy said, business is business.
So then the next one, and this one divided SAFC fan base. San Antonio transfers goalkeeper Jordan Farr to Tampa Bay Rowdies for an undisclosed fee. And I put this out when it was done. There's two stories to this. There's Jordan Farr interaction with the fans. There's Jordan Farr, the human being. Jordan Farr, the community person. You can't replace what he's done. There's a reason why on SAFC's release here, it's Jordan Farr with the fans, because that's how close he was. As far as players that have worn the SAFC jersey, probably top 2, top 3 in far as fan involvement. You got Rafa Castillo probably be up there. Especially if you combine his time with the Scorpions. But to me, like I said here, off the field, it's going to be impossible to replace what he brings. To me, on the field, and we'll get to this, after we go around here, on the field, though, I think there is a discussion that could be had if you're looking for a discussion. So even though we may talk about from a player side here, just understand that losing Jordan Farr sucks. We know he fell out of favor, with Coach Marcina. I don't think it's a secret at this point. It's been widely discussed within the fan base. They brought in Marsman, which talent-wise, you can look at short-term could have been a success, but long-term, you knew when they did that this was what was going to happen. In my opinion, if Farr stayed with San Antonio FC and Marcina, To me, that would have been the biggest shock. For that here. We'll go to you, Matt.
All right, Elmer Fudd. I said no. All right, Elmer Fudd.
Well, I was trying.
He was trying to get it out. I mean, for me, you got to see it both.
It's got to be a flag, right? That's got to be a flag. I know we're distracted. That's got to be a flag. In what world is that not a flag? Matt, go ahead. I'm going to mute. Sorry.
Well, while these two are watching the game, yeah, I mean, you can see it from both sides of the field. I mean, to me, from a supporter standpoint, you don't have that many players that like to go up and be personable with their supporter groups. Yeah, you had Farr, you had Pirano back in the day would do it. You had Rafa Castillo would come up to us. You had there's so many that would do it. And lately it's just been like, well, Farr was the one who mostly did it for us. So if you're a supporter or a fan, yeah, it hurts because he was personable with the city. But if you're coming from the playing standpoint, we did see it this year since we didn't have a strong back line. He was tested a little bit heavier this year, and who's to say? I mean, there's no proving your point more than making the right decisions and stuff like that. And there were questionable things that Farr did do this year, and a lot of people did look at him like, hey man, like that's not you. What's going on? But yeah, like I said, as a player, as a person, amazing. Any team would love to have him, man. He goes and supports your supporter groups. He goes up and supports your city, and your community. As a player, he proves himself.
Yeah. I mean, just kind of reflect on that. Yeah, and Rafa, completely agree with what Rafa is chiming in here. Said transferring Farr will have a divided fan base going into the season. It's win or bust for Marcina in the eyes of most of the Jordan Farr fan base, and that's a pretty large contingent of the SAFC fan base for sure. And it's kind of crazy that we're at this point when you look at the history of SAFC. We've never really had a player kind of transcend the team, and we're almost at that point where Jordan Farr kind of seems like he's transcended the team. One of the, and you know,
he did,
one of the,
though. We were at the watch party. There were people that were rooting for Marsman to fail because Farr wasn't in there.
Yeah, which is insane. And here's one thing that I will say, and I said it about the Marsman situation back. That's not great. Back when it was going on, was that this is one of those really rare opportunities in USL where you have the chance to get a guy of Marsman's talent and his wage level and everything he's at. You do that every time. You do that 100% of the time when you get that. It's kind of like, man, I don't know, but who's a player right now? It's like Carlos Vela. For some reason, Carlos Vela had a big falling out with LAFC, and they released him from his contract. And San Antonio goes, hey, we're going to sit Tanny or we're going to sit Patino down, two of the most prolific scorers we've ever had last season that we've ever had on the team. We're going to sit y'all down and put Carlos Vela, and people would outright, start going against SAFC just because they're not starting Tanny or Patino. It's kind of the same thing. Marsman kind of on that level. He's $500,000 a year. That's close to a lot of wage bills for an entire starting 11 in USL. So like the talent was there. Was a performance there? Maybe not necessarily. I don't think Marsman's play really reflected well with SAFC, but it's one of those rare opportunities you get somebody of that caliber. At the same rate, last season, let's talk about 2022 real quick. 2022 was a big season. Harry, go ahead.
On that, not only did you get Marsman, but you got him at a deep discount. So San Antonio FC probably didn't have to pay really much, because for MLS it was more, hey, let's get to where he can, because we're paying him $500,000 to just stay at home. Let's send him to San Antonio or wherever at a deep discount. So I think that goes into that equation as well. For San Antonio FC to acquire him, it didn't cost them normally what it would be for a MLS to USL loan to begin with.
And that's 100% it. That's definitely what goes into the calculus of that. It's not just straight up you're looking for another goalkeeper and you go get him. He was available basically for free. His wages were paid by Inter Miami, I should say. And it was just, hey, you want to come play over here? At the same rate, let's talk about 2022 real quick, and then let's talk about last season. 2022, our back line, we had Tainer on the left, we had Jasser Kamiri in the center, and we had Fabian Garcia on the right. One of the strongest back lines, I'd say, in the history of the USL. An unbelievable triumvirate, and they played really well together to where Tainer probably should have been the MVP. Jasser Kamiri was great, and Fabian Garcia even got some votes as well. And then you had Jordan Farr get goalkeeper of the year, and Tainer got defender of the year as well. So just unbelievable numbers in 2022. Reflected on that, Jordan Farr made some clutch saves as well, but that backline was amazing in front of him in 2022. Now let's go to 2023, the year after. You have Garcia in the center, you got Tainer on the left, and either Tainer on the left, or you had Batista on the left, you had Manley on the left, not Kamiri, but two of Garcia and Tainer and somebody else, and you still had Farr in the back. Big drop off there. And last season, especially in those last 10 games, couldn't win a game to save our life. Part of those were Farr, part of those are Marsman. And at the same rate, even if Marcina wanted to start Farr instead of Marsman toward the end of the season, he couldn't, because Jordan Farr got a red card because he went on the field when he should have, which that's a discipline thing. You can blame the ref all you want. You always take that risk when you go on the field and you weren't part of the squad and you go across the ref. It's what happens. And Farr also got a red card in Sacramento against Sacramento on a not so great play where it was dog-so when he slide tackled a guy. So, and we know from history is always precedent. History shows us that if a player gets a red card on a Marcina team, they sit for at least one more game longer than their suspension. That's what he's always done. Whether it's Patino, whether it's PC, anybody who's gotten a red card, they sit longer than their suspension.
Tainter didn't.
So I almost guarantee he did. When did Tainer get a red? Because it's happened.
No, that's true. Yeah, he hasn't gotten red, but he got accumulation of yellow. My bad.
Yeah, he gets accumulation of yellow. Yeah, that's one thing. I'm saying a red card. When you get a red card, when you get a straight red in a game, you sit longer than your suspension, unless I will say maybe not Tanny when Tanny got his red card, because I don't think that was a red card. I think that was RSL coach, the former guy at San Diego. Can't think of his name right now. But that was him just complaining to the ref enough to where the ref gave a red card for whatever reason. But that is a typical thing that Marcina will do is that. And Farr got 2 red cards last season. Doesn't really reflect well. His numbers just weren't there. The metrics weren't there for him. And I think Spurs Sports Entertainment probably came down and said, hey, this is an organization of excellence. This is a championship or bust team. Do you think you can do it again if you run it back? And Marcina was probably like, honestly, probably not. The numbers weren't there in the season, in the regular season. Numbers definitely weren't there in the playoffs. I think it's better if we, almost blow it up and try to start over again. And it's kind of seeming what they're doing. I don't think last season was acceptable to them. Whether that's to Marco Ferruzzi coming in, whether that's to RC Buford, whether that's to the Holt family, whether that's to Marcina. I don't think last season was acceptable. bowing out in the second round and getting dominated by Sacramento. I don't think that's acceptable. So I think they're moving on. I think they're doing what they feel is right. Whether that's, going to kind of hurt some of the fan base, they're going to have to win some of the fan base back. It's very possible they're going to need to do that. But at the same rate, numbers weren't there, metrics weren't there. We'll see if it was the right call in the long run. But, if you look at just the numbers, I think they're kind of onto something if they want to improve the team for sure.
So the numbers that we have here that I'm showing is from USL Tactics. John Morrison, if you don't follow him or don't support him, please do. Backheeled or follow him on social media, part of the USL show. So he put up his goals above replacement here, 2022 to 2023. The goals above replacement, he dropped 26%. Also 26% in goals scored allowed through their here, as well as 18% drop in save percentage. So the numbers support making a change, because this Jordan Farr had it now. John, states that he thinks Jordan Farr and this is where I wish Rafa or Robert was on, has the best as far as for positioning wise, has the is one of the elites when it comes to that. My thing when it comes to Jordan Farr is taking away the fan view from here, because all of us, if we're looking at it from a fan perspective, is like, how can San Antonio FC do this? Right? It's impossible to get rid of Jordan Farr. He's one of the best goalkeepers. And 2022 winning in title, having being part of that team, he'll go down in San Antonio history just like Rafa Castillo. But two things that kind of stood out to me from last year. One, he didn't get the call up to MLS after having all of that success. We've seen USL goalkeepers get the call up to MLS, and he may not start, but he at least gets into the 18. So number one, and then number two, let's not forget the type of goalkeeper he was in Indy. You can talk about, hey, he had a poor defense along those lines here. The type of goalkeeper he is. So if San Antonio FC doesn't have that elite defense that they had in 2022, and they just have a good defense, I wouldn't say last year's defense was great. He's still a good goalkeeper. He got off to a real hot start. He had that confidence. They built on that. But I think as you saw the year go on, that confidence dropped a little bit, and we don't know what was happening in practice or anything along those lines. It just, the longer the season came through, the more mistakes that unfortunately you could see. In San Antonio, they didn't give up a lot of goals, but they always gave up one at the inopportune time. And I think for Jordan Farr, from a San Antonio aspect, it's going to be hard. I've already put it out there. I think, and Rafa's already kind of highlighted it. I think this move puts Coach Marcino on the hot seat. I do. I think I think for San Antonio FC, especially week 2, they play at Tampa. But if you really look at their opening 10-game stretch, it's a pretty favorable schedule. There's a couple of hard matches like you'd expect, but they should be able to come out and put some points on the board. If they don't, though, we all know Marcino, for the most fans, wasn't the most popular hire to begin with. He won the title, kind of went back, but him losing Maloney, Dillon, Garcia, and Farr in one off season, that's a lot. And we're gonna get into the arrivals here and a rise of the USL. Would you guys say SAFC is better now with the new acquisitions? I don't think we're gonna know that until we see them on the pitch, because it's gonna be interesting to see what we have for it here. So, want to start with The first signing here is goalkeeper Pablo
Cisniega.
Comes from Charlotte. My first impression of him is he would have been competition for Farr. I don't think he's clearly better or worse than Farr. I think he's kind of at that same level. Where there's potential there. He had a stint with LAFC 3 seasons ago where he had pretty good success, which turned him into Charlotte. With Charlotte, he was mainly the backup goalkeeper, which for MLS is not necessarily a bad thing, but it'll be interesting to kind of see how he comes in. Obviously, right now he's the presumed starter just because he's the only goalkeeper signed here. I still don't know if he is goalkeeper number 1 when the season starts. For that here, that's my impression of him. There's some good things. It'll be interesting. In the next show with Rafa and Robert to see what they like or don't like about Pablo. But when they signed him and Farr was still on here, Farr to me would have still been the starting goalkeeper. So I think that's kind of low level where he's at here. Matt or Royce, whoever wants to jump in next.
Matt, go ahead.
I mean, when you saw the goalkeeper signing, I think that was the writing of Farr leaving. But I looked at his what's his name?
Pablo?
How do you say it, Royce? Cisniega?
Cisniega.
Okay, Cisniega. I looked into his background when I got the news, and he doesn't seem too far off from Farr. But like Harry said,
That's a bad joke. Oh wow, that's terrible. Good.
It wasn't even a joke.
Oh my goodness.
But anyway, he didn't seem too off from Jordan. So I mean, it was scary to see the signing, but who knows? He has some experience. You just don't. It's one of those. I have to see it to believe it.
That's fair enough. I will say Cisniega's background's very interesting. When he was playing in the Portuguese leagues, he had a very, very nasty injury that he had to be hospitalized for a while from. And doctors said that he could have potentially not survived the injuries, which is crazy. Apparently, he was going after a ball. I believe he got kneed in the face. It broke his nose, and he collapsed in the locker room later. And they took him to the hospital, and he had a swelling of the brain, and they had to do some stuff to help him out. Luckily, he made a full recovery, but had he not gone to the hospital, it could have been different for him, definitely. He also had a very bad injury, I believe, when he was with LAFC or maybe Charlotte. He had a pretty bad injury a couple of years ago.
It was LAFC.
It was LAFC when he had the injury, right? So he has injury history. It's not like a muscular injury history where it's a wear out thing. It's a collision thing, which that's just bad luck. But he does have a lot of experience in the Portuguese leagues as well as MLS. He brings that here. He is taller. He's a tall keeper. I think he's 6'4", 6'5", taller guy. And like Harry, I'm not sure if he's a starter either. I think he's more. I think he was supposed to be competition. That's why he was brought in. And there's also potential to bring somebody else in. So we'll see how that goes. But as of right now, that's goalkeeper 1, and I'm a Pablo fan. So let's continue. Go ahead, Harry.
So next one is Cameron Lacey, forward from Minnesota United 2 through there here. He's 23 years old, had 20 matches with 10 goals on 30 shots. He had a hat trick against Timbers 2, and of course he played at UNC Charlotte, where 58 appearances, 17 goals, 14 assists. I like his potential for it here. I think that I think with some of the veterans that we brought in, I think his youth, and he is a Jamaican international where he has represented Jamaica at the U17s and U20 level, part of the Orlando City and FC Dallas academies, and helping Dallas to a U19 conference championship in Orlando. So pedigree's there. Your thoughts on Cameron there, Matt?
I thought it was a pretty good looking signing. I mean, you're gonna have to patch up all these holes one way or another. So, I mean, get some young legs in there, fresh legs in there, and see how we go from there.
Yeah, I think this is definitely your speedster signing on the wing. I think Cameron Lacey is one of those dudes that just has pace and gobs. And I think he's going to help open up space when we need to open up space. I'm not sure if he's a starter exactly. I think he is a forward depth, but he's definitely the pace that sometimes SAFC lacks. And I think he's going to spread the field for us pretty well. So I think it's a pretty good signing.
And let's not forget, Tani came from there, and well, Tani did very well last year.
Absolutely.
Next up, Lucas Silva, full name, Lucas Silva dos Santos. For that here, he's a skilled left wing back, dedicated excelling on both balls, according to Coach Marcina, from Brazil. He's a veteran. I don't know much about what Liga Portugal 2, the league through there. I know it's the league that Pirano went to, same division, and Pirano did not make the 18, whereas this guy has made several starts, obviously different positions. But to me that, when I was looking at kind of the level here, plus he's huge. When you look at him, he looks like a big dude.
He is built like a brick shit house. That is correct. I think this is a great signing. And it's really, I think this is Marco Ferruzzi really flexing his muscles now, and we'll get to some of the other acquisitions that he's made. I think he's really looking in non-traditional sources, right? A lot of USL clubs will just look at USL and domestic players, bring those in, maybe look at Mexico a little bit. And Ferruzzi's really looking all over the world, and it's really showing in this one. Lucas Silva, big dude, really a regular player over there in the Portuguese second division, which is a pretty dang good division to be a regular in. Former FC Dallas center back Reggie Cannon was a regular starter for Boa Vista, which is a Portuguese 2 team, and he was a center back, and then they moved him to right back. So on the same level as a normal starting right back in MLS is pretty much what you have here. I'm not saying he's at the same level as Reggie Cannon, but he played in the same league at just about the same position. So that's pretty exciting to see. And I can't wait to see him on the field for sure. And like Marcina said, works on both sides of the ball. So you're going to have Shannon do the same on the right. You'll have Lucas Silva on the left. I think you're going to be pretty deadly on the wings this season for sure.
6 foot 167, according to
brick shit house. Yeah, he's about my size, except not American. Let's say that. Haha.
Next, returning, and I think kind of caught us off guard. Trova Bani returns on loan from Belenisa SAD. He came in late last year. I think he made 6 appearances, if memory serves me right.
He made his appearances.
That sounds right. Yeah.
Yeah. He did make his
appearances.
Huh?
He only did his appearances.
That's what we're saying. He made 6 appearances.
Yes.
Correct.
Yeah. So he has experience in both first and second divisions. I think the biggest thing that we saw in I forget which game it was.
Tulsa game. He started as a 6, as a midfielder, and he got pulled after 15 minutes because he let a guy go score a goal right by him, which we've seen this before, right? We've seen this in the Powell years, actually, oddly enough. Whenever Darren Powell had Mo Hernandez play as a 6, which Mo Hernandez, center back, big dude, 6'4". He's a center back. He had to play 6 because of injuries, because Jack Barnby was in our midfield. He had to play as a 6, and that didn't go too well. So we saw that before. But Mo Hernandez still starting, and last year I believe he played with Miami. So I mean, still a very good player. Just played at a position. You can't do that. Trovabani, he's a center back. He's not a midfielder. So play him in the back like he did last season. He's pretty serviceable. And another dude that is built like a brick shithouse. The dude is huge.
6'2", 182. So
giant.
And I think I think playing him in his natural position, because he'll actually fill the Fabian Garcia spot if he starts, and we'll kind of talk about that later on. If he's a starter.
I think he's depth, but yeah, we'll talk about it later.
But that's the position that he needs to be playing is back at center back.
Correct.
Right here.
I agree.
Moving on, an interesting one here. Bura Nogueira.
Nailed it.
Here. Coach mentions he brings top flight experience, leadership, serving as captain of his national team, a physical presence in the center of the park who dominates in the air and thrives on one-on-one defensive duels. Last year, and this is kind of interesting, he had basically 1,300 minutes with an Iranian team, Mes Karman, of the Persian Gulf League, but also has experience with SC Favoites in Portugal. He is number 6, right? Defensive midfielder.
That's correct.
Is where he is. Matt, any thoughts on Bura?
All I knew is that dude's freaking huge, bro. That was the first thing I saw. I was like,
another giant, right?
Freaking huge.
6 foot, 150 pounds.
Shit.
For a 6. Yeah.
No, they're bringing in some big dudes. They're bringing them in, I looked them up a little bit.
They're bringing in athletes, is what I was going to say. Bringing in big dude.
But yeah, I looked them up a little bit. It seemed very interesting. I mean, we don't know. I don't know who's picking, but they're keeping it wide open on variety. So it's just one of those. Like I said on the first one, it's one of those I gotta see it before I can trust it.
And this guy will be going out on international duty because he does, like Guinea Bielsa, was in the AFCON. I think they got eliminated in the qualifications. But for his country, he will be going out for that here. But and to me, the leadership that he brings, I think if you're a captain of a national team, that says a lot. Royce?
100%. He is obviously a leader with his country. He was a leader with the team he was on in Iran in the Persian Gulf League, which don't knock that. I think that's it's a Persian Gulf League, so it's multiple countries. It's not just one. And since they had the World Cup and since Saudi Arabia's really built up their league, those leagues as well, as a result, have also kind of come up in quality. So, don't knock that at all. I think that's a kind of a show of his talent level. And I'm pretty excited to have him. The 6 was a position last season that, the midfield in general last season, we really, I don't want to say we were lacking on, but it wasn't as strong as it was in 2022. Yeah, absolutely. Ewan Matuasa said, geez, the San Antonio team will be dang physical this year. 100%. It's really what it seems like. But last season, the midfield just, if we remember against OC in OC, Rita just got run right by. the midfield in general just got run right by, and we didn't see Rita the rest of the season. So Marcina's base has always been the midfield, build a strong midfield. Mo was there in the playoffs. Mo is still with us, and he's going to be the leader there for sure. But at the same rate, we're replenishing the midfield, which is good to see, and we're replenishing that back line as well. And those are the things we really lacked in quality last season. And this is another showing of their intent of looking elsewhere and really getting seemingly top players, especially for this league.
So the next one here, more on the attacking midfielder, possibly forward. I think he'll play up top. San Antonio FC signs midfielder Luke Hankinson. Hopefully I pronounced that correctly here. Played with Nashville. Kind of mixed. Played against us last year in the Open Cup. Went 84 minutes. He's drafted 80th overall in the 2020 Super Draft. Has 4 goals for us since, including a goal against Liga MX Toluca for that here. Went to school at Creighton. Team first, strong motivation, versatility. I don't have. Let's see if I have his height. But your thought on him? This one's kind of an interesting signing to me.
I think he's like 5'8" or 5'9". He's one of those MLS guys last season that he had the opportunity to really establish himself with Nashville. And it just didn't seem like he could really get it going. He had some really good showings while he was with that team for the last couple of years. Last season, they were really looking for somebody to take off. And from what I've read in a lot of the Nashville forums, he just, for whatever reason, he could never really completely put it together last season. But he does come with a lot of experience. He just seems like one of those. This seems like a signing that SAFC, a dream signing for SAFC that they always look for every year, is that fringe MLS guy that has the talent to be there. He just can't fit in for whatever reason with the team he's on. And given Nashville, one of the better teams in MLS, this is one of those players that Chicago or Charlotte or Denver, or not Denver, Colorado. These are the kind of guys that those teams would be looking for to fill out their roster. And San Antonio gets them. So I think this is a really big get for Ferruzzi. And I think this is another one of those things that his MLS ties are really going to show themselves out as well in bringing talent to San Antonio.
And here's another trend, 5'10", 175 for a midfielder, 26 years old. If you're noticing, San Antonio is not small this year at all.
No. And another thing that I will say in Coach Marcina's description of Hackinson in the press release, it almost sounded like he was basically saying, hey, look, we got this guy and he's going to fill in for the Maloney spot that we are missing because he retired. He's going to be on the left side. He's press. He's going to be pressing on both sides of the balls. He'll attack. He'll defend. That's what it sounds like. So I'll be interested to see in the formation kind of where he fills in there.
I think it'll be more on the right, though. Looking at his map here, he plays mainly on the right.
Fair
for that here, but yeah, I guess he could be
fair enough
through there here, but we'll see where Coach Marcina has him.
Absolutely.
And an interesting signing, a veteran. San Antonio FC signs defender Richard Windebilcher, who comes from. Let me get to the right screen here. Chengrung Rongan of the China Super League, but he's played all over in the Austrian League, Korean, Australian. He's for that here he had 54. I think I saw it. I don't know if it was Royce or Robert that pulled it out. He was a best 11 of the China Super League. He is an older at 32 years old. But to me, he's that Jasser Kamiri, big, tall. He's gonna be in the middle of the center back, and like I said, I have him starting now. We'll see if that comes true or not. But to me, he's the starting center back for if we're running a 3-back system.
Matt, what are your thoughts?
I didn't read too much on this guy, but he seems like a very variety player, since he was all around the Pacific. So, like I said, I'm sticking it to all these guys. I'll believe it when I see how it goes on the field, because obviously we don't get to watch each individual player. So, just wait and see, pretty much.
I think this is going to be one of the bigger signings of the offseason. This is a guy in Winbischler that I think we're going to hear his name around the league a lot. It's kind of crazy to get it once again, a guy of this level of talent with his experience and where he's been to come to the USL. I think it's pretty nuts. I mean, he's been in the Australian League. He was the very first Austrian to play in the Korean leagues, and I guess the South Korean leagues, which is, I mean, groundbreaker there. Played in the Korean leagues for a while, in the Chinese league, which is Chinese first division, is nothing to shake a stick at. If you remember, just a few years ago, they were basically where the Saudi Arabian league is now, where they were just signing all the big names, and they still have a lot of big names. They have a lot of top Brazilian players still playing there. If you look at European, if you look at the Champions League, UEFA Champions League 5-10 years ago, a lot of the names that are there, Carlos Tevez, a lot of those names that were there that'll sound familiar, they're still playing in the Chinese league. Not Carlos Tevez, that's a whole other reason, but a lot of those guys are still playing in the Chinese league and still getting paid pretty handsomely over there. And he won, I believe in July, he won, or he earned honors to be on the all 11 starting lineup in just July in the entire Chinese First Division League. So I think this is a top player, and it's pretty cool that he's going to play here in the USL for San Antonio, and I'm looking forward to him being that center back and really building this back line with Tainer on the left, and we'll see who earns that spot on the right.
So I was going to do the kind of lineup, but we're kind of running long on time. So we'll kind of move from there. To me, and going back to a comment, from Rise of the USL, and I know Matt's already kind of hinted at this. Would you guys say on paper SAFC is better now with the new acquisitions? I don't think we can say that. We don't know. Last year, you would have thought when they ran it back that they would have been better than what they were. They had 14 wins, 14 draws, and I think 9 losses, or 4 or 5 losses for that year. But it's to be determined. We will get to see good transition, Harry. SAFC on February 24th. Against Antigua GFC from Guatemala. They do have 2 close friendlies, one against Matt's Dino Dos team. So I'm sure Matt will be up on the bridge scouting. Dude,
that's not my team. Oh, shit. Oh, my bad. I thought it was Austin. My fault.
Wow.
I don't know why the whole time I thought it was Austin.
No.
I forgot looking at that flyer. My bad.
Dino Dos on February 17th. Matt will be up there in his Surge shirt, banging on the drums for Dino Dos.
Boys, that's almost in 2 weeks. That's very clear. That's very close to being 2 weeks away. That's crazy.
And then they have the friendly against Antigua, and then they wrap up against Broccoli 2, and both against the MLS Next Pro teams are closed door, of course. My only sour part about this is Antigua GFC from Guatemala. Their first team will be playing a match that night, so most likely you're getting a team of second team players. And yes, it's free to season ticket members, but it comes with a cost.
A waste.
And you want to tell them what that cost is, Royce, to kind of set that up for you?
The cost. What cost? What are we talking about? Just for a ticket.
Well, no, the cost is it's the 18th game.
Oh yeah. So for season ticket members, this is going to count towards your season ticket. Your season tickets. Normally we get 2 free game, not really 2 free games. You get 19 games paid for. And this is going to be one of them basically. So you can either pay this for, do your exchange thing, or you can go to the game. This is not a normal thing. Normally there's a season ticket member open practice where it's just season ticket members. This being, Antigua, the Guatemalan team, I believe they were runners up last season in their top division. I guess it's a pretty big get for preseason.
But you're not getting the first team.
But you're not getting the first team, exactly. And we almost never get the first team when it comes to Mexican League teams either. This is kind of how it goes. We'll see what happens in the summer. I'll be interested to see who the friendlies are going to be against in the summer. But it does kind of stink. I don't think you're wrong on that, but hopefully this is not a trend that continues. We'll see how it goes. But at the same rate, at least we have a preseason schedule out. That's a big thing that some impatient people have been clamoring about. But we'll see.
You say that? There's teams that have already played a game. We haven't even made it to camp yet.
Good. They're going to be tired in November when it matters.
Please.
Anyway, what I will say about this, so what I do like what SAFC has set up is that preseason is all going to be here in town. You have an all new squad. They're going to be able to mesh. They're going to be able to get settled in their apartment. And they're all going to be able to bond. Yes, the road is a bonding place. Harry has mentioned that. And as a former college and high school athlete, the road really does. You do get a lot of camaraderie out of that, but that can wait until the season. You don't have to do that in the preseason. Do that in the preseason. You can get settled. They're not going anywhere. They're staying in San Antonio. I like that a lot, actually.
Their first road trips to Tampa against the Tampa Fars.
Good. And then what they can do is they can mesh behind that. They can get their 1-0 win over there. And then they can come home and be like, all right, boys, we're the real deal. Let's go.
Oh, dude, could you imagine? I will say SAFC lucks out that Tampa isn't here this year, because my goodness.
That would be yikes. That would be yikes. It would. You're right.
My goodness, that would be it. But final thoughts here. Rafa, like I said here, hope you and the family are doing well. I know you're taking care of business at home. Safe travels back.
Real quick. Let me ask one question. Let's do this question, then we'll do final thoughts after that. Matt, what positions or players that you know of that are free agents would you like to see SAFC sign before camp starts?
Midfield and defenders.
Okay. I like that. Harry, same question to you. Do you know of any free agent players that are still free agents that haven't been signed yet? Or what positions do you want to see another few signings? As Harry and I discussed during our homework before the show, SAFC's roster's at 15 right now?
Yes.
And last season they went into camp with 18?
16, 17.
Yeah, 17 or 18, somewhere around there. So we're expecting 2 or 3 more signings before camp. So what do you want to see those?
Well, obviously a goalkeeper. I still have concerns about our goalkeeper. So through there now, the question is where does it come from? is SAFC going to pull the 5 loans that they did last year early, or do they wait to do all their big signings till later in the year where they find out what they have? So to me, that's going to be kind of the interesting thing. I personally think that they wait a little bit longer to make those big moves, because I'm wondering if Tim Holt kind of said, "Hey," before he left, that, "Hey, I'm going to set the team up, signings here," and then he departed SAFC. And if you notice, they didn't have the late season big signings like they normally do for that here. So to me, goalkeeper.
What? Wasn't what's his name from the Timbers a big signing to come back?
Nathan,
yeah, I think that was a pretty big signing to bring him back.
Yeah, I thought that was a pretty big signing.
I agree.
To me, goalkeeper and center back. I wouldn't mind doing Edwards from Colorado, from the Rapids again. I wouldn't mind. Yeah, we tried last year. He was here for a week, then they had injuries.
I like that.
And he played the role now. Question is what do we need? Well, I think we still need another center back. But to me, that would give Manley the little bit more flexibility to where he could either play, as a fullback, or if he needs to substitute, as a center back, have that flexibility. But to me, those would be the two positions. Obviously, I am more attacking minded, so one more attacking player. But I do think for that here, Rafa mentions the goalkeeper will be a loanee from MLS to start. So I guess here's the question for here. Damian Loss from Austin FC is rumored to be going out. I know just because, like MLS, Matt, I do follow MLS part here. I don't have an allegiance to a team. I'm not a season ticket member to a team like somebody else on this podcast.
I get free Apple TV, okay? Leave me alone.
It would be interesting if San Antonio FC was able to pull out Loss, who is a good goalkeeper. So Rafa, I don't think you're that far off where it could be a loanee. Don't forget DSC Dane St. Clair had 5 appearances with us as well. So
it's very true, and I agree. Obviously, I would like. So San Antonio FC's best season so far, 2017, 2022, they went into those seasons into camp with not knowing who the number 1 keeper is. They had competition, and they had 2 or 3 possibly starting goalkeepers going into those seasons. So I want to see the same thing. I would like to see a top goalkeeper brought in. We definitely need at least 1, maybe 2 center backs. And if we're going to add, if not just 2 center backs, another midfielder for sure. An 8 would be nice. We have 4 or 5 midfielders, so we're pretty good on midfield. But I would like to see an 8, kind of a box. Like I said, maybe 2 center backs and a goalkeeper to try to battle it out for that starting position. And now we're at the toward the end of the show. We're going to start wrapping things up. Matt, what are your final thoughts for today's show?
Just can't wait to just get out there, man. I'm antsy for March 9th to see how it's going to be, and just waiting for our meeting coming up with the FO, and we get to speak to Mr. Ferruzzi, so seeing how that goes.
That'll be very interesting. I guess I'll go with my final thoughts, and then we'll hit Harry up. My final thoughts are keep the faith. I know a lot of SAFC fans right now are kind of feeling it, kind of not feeling connected to the team right now because of certain departures, certain moves that the team has made. But always know, and this is kind of what we talked about, it's about the team, and it's about going forward, and it's about progressing, and what is satisfactory to the team. And it really shows that San Antonio FC is championship or bust. They're not going to settle for what they feel they could be better at. And it really shows, like I said, Spurs Sports Entertainment, Buford, the Holtz, Marcina, and now Ferruzzi. It really seems like there is a championship or bust. And I think they figured that last season we went out in the second round. We got dominated by Sacramento in that second round game where we lost. I don't think that was acceptable. And if things were different, if we had just won one more game, we wouldn't even have to go there at that point. We would have had at least 2 home games for the playoffs. And who knows what could have happened after that. So we saw Phoenix upset Sacramento in Sacramento, and then Phoenix going to Charleston. Man, last year we went into Charleston and we beat them 7-0. So who knows what the championship could have been had we just won one more game, had we been slightly more successful. And I just don't think that was acceptable to the organization. They're doing a refresh. They're doing it because they care about the team and they want the team to succeed. So I'm aboard. I want to see what we do. SAFC till I die. And let's get this season started. I'm excited about it. Harry?
My final thought is go out and support local soccer. Right now, that's high school. There is a lot of high school action pretty much most days of the week. Bernie, South Side, Northeast, South San, or SAI, or was it San Antonio ISD, South Side ISD, Harlingen, North Side, Northeast, up at Como counties. There is a lot of great high school soccer, boys and girls. Go out and support. Very inexpensive to be able to do so, at least through the NISD. If you're going to varsity, you got to pay through the app, so they don't take cash anymore. But that's a post-COVID thing for that here. But hopefully with some nice weather, you can go out and see some great action. The San Antonio Soccer Roundtable will be having a show on Wednesday where we hopefully will have some guests from Bernie Geneva, talking about a 100-goal scorer and a 50-goal scorer for that program, as well as their coaches. Rafa, I think, will be back in town by then. If not, he said he'll be able to kind of hopefully have it set up at home. But as always, like I said here, just for us, going back to when Scott and I started this, it's about supporting local soccer. San Antonio FC, support the club. Lower league soccer, it's hard to get close to the players. When you get a special one like Jordan Farr, it hurts. And like I said here, it'll take some time to recover for that here. And per Rafa, we'll have the RPI, so the Power 15 from Rafa to see who's number one and who gets slighted by Rafa, because he doesn't like some programs. I better see Stevens on that list, for here. But hope Hey, AJ had an assist this week here, so it was awesome. They played 2 matches and drew at Harlan and beat John Jay on the road, so he's got bragging rights over his sister. So we won't talk about the varsity. We won't talk about the varsity though. But what's life without goals? We're out of here. Hope everybody has a wonderful evening. Go ahead, Royce.
No, just
okay. You stepped up, so I was like, oh, he's got something to say. Hope everybody has a wonderful week. We'll see you Wednesday.